I have a black eye and we're talking about fight scenes. Let's do this. So, you want to make a breathtaking fight scene but don't happen to have a stunt coordinator who lives right across the street to help you make your dreams a reality? Here's how to write, shoot, and choreograph any fight scene whatsoever. Throughout this video, we are going to be referencing a quick fight scene that we shot a little while back, and you can watch it up here if you would like, because we're going to be talking about it quite a bit, so you can watch that now if you don't want spoilers. We've been making fight scenes for quite a while now, 5 years maybe. It started out when we were going to make a Star Wars short film, and we had this 5-minute choreographed duel that we had figured out from beginning to end. Anyway, that kind of fell through because our cinematographer moved to another state, and then after that, everything just fell to pieces. The point is that through the years, we've learned how to make a pretty good fight scene, and this is pretty much everything we know about making them.
One of the best ways to get inspired is to watch actual fight scenes from actual movies, believe it or not. Some of our favorites are Anakin versus Obi-Wan in The Revenge of the Sith, Indy versus the buff guy in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the bathroom fight scene in Mission Impossible Fallout. If you want to check any of those out, we have links to them down below. I mean, where else would they be? To figure out how to craft your own fight scene, let's take a look and analyze this one from The Princess Bride. Element 1. Characters. Characters in the duel are Inigo Montoya and the mysterious man in black who, spoilers, is actually Wesley. Sorry if you didn't know that. The reason why this fight is so great is because we actually care about the characters before the fight, and that brings an extra layer of intensity. The characters in our fight scene are represented by the two different colors, red and white, and those are designated by both the armbands and the dice that they use. So basically, the more that you know about a character before the fight, the more intense it's going to be, unless you just don't like the character. Actually, you'd rather see them lose.
Okata.
Oh my goodness.
So the second element is setting. So having a great setting is one of the easiest way that you can completely boost the coolness factor to your fight scene. Coolness factor is totally a word. So for the Princess Bride duel, Inigo and Wesley duke it out on the Cliffs of Insanity in this really cool formation of rocks. Now, odds are you aren't going to be able to create a set that's that cool, but if you find a place that's really cool that you can shoot at, it can elevate the coolness factor of your fight scene and just take it to the absolute next level. So we decided to go up behind our silo, and there was an area out behind it. The silo ended up becoming kind of part of the story. We were gonna throw a guy in a mask up there. That looked so bad. We were like, you know what, let's put something else up there. So even if you aren't able to film on the edge of the Cliffs of Insanity or on an exploding volcano called Mustafar, then I'm sure there's some alley or cool forest that you can shoot somewhere. Also, bonus points if you can make your environment kind of related to your story and even help enhance the vision.
Element 3. Weapons. In this fight, Wesley and Inigo are using swords, but yours can range anywhere from blaster rifles to fists. Or if you find something that is mundane or normal, but you find an interesting way to use it, that can be a cool weapon too. For the climax of a short film that we've been working on for a very long time, we actually have Isaac, who is in the short film, just pick up a chair and just start fighting the bad guy with it. So there's all kinds of ways you can use everyday objects. That should be coming out, hopefully in 2023, so keep your eyes peeled. In the fight we used for this video, we basically just used knives, guns, lightsabers, and a toothpick. Yeah, I don't think a toothpick has ever been used for a fight scene before. Toothpick used in fight scene? No. We gotta patent that fight scene. Remember, everything is a weapon.
So the fourth element is stakes. So what happens if the characters in this fight lose it? So if Inigo loses the fight, he never gets revenge on the six-fingered man. But if Wesley loses the fight, then he doesn't get to save the damsel in distress that he loves. So it's really bad for both of them. So even though Inigo ends up losing the fight, we can care about both characters a little bit beforehand, which makes it more intense for the audience.
Because this isn't an actual fight, and these actors have not been training with swords their entire lives, no one is actually going to get hurt or die. The only way to make the scene actually intense is the choreography. Normally, for a blockbuster film, there is a guy on set whose one job it is to make the choreography, and that's the stunt coordinator. But if you clicked on this video, odds are that's you. Congratulations. Isaac and I basically just came up with the choreography in our backyard and ran through it on several different days to more or less remember it. Now you and your opponent are going to have to come up with these moves from scratch, and we're going to get to that in a moment. And now, from an ad from our sponsor.
If you're digging the black eye, please drop a like for the algorithm. The sixth and final element to your fight scene is going to be reversals of fortune. The six-fingered man. Inigo. Reversals of fortune is just a fancy way of saying that one opponent doesn't have the upper hand for the entire duel. So if it was that way, then it'd get kind of boring because there's no back and forth and there's no conflict and trading of who has the advantage. To keep this fight as suspenseful as possible, you want the outcome to be teetering on the edge of a knife.
Stray but a little and it will fail.
Someday we will be able to get through a video without having a Lord of the Rings quote.
But it is not this day.
So let's take a look at the Princess Bride duel to see how they handle the reversals of fortune. To begin the Princess Bride duel, the two combatants test each other's abilities, neither having the advantage. But as the fight progresses, it becomes clear that Wesley is driving Inigo back. That's the first shift. Then Inigo surprises him and switches to his left hand. Now Inigo has the advantage and begins to gain the upper hand against Wesley, who is beaten back until he switches to his right hand as well. So then they fight it out, and eventually Wesley wins, knocking Inigo out and running into the sunset. It wasn't sunset, but I don't care. So see how it kept changing who was in control of the fight? That's how you make an intense fight scene. The more reversals of fortune that you have and the more surprising they are, the better your fight scene will be.
Now that we know what the components of a dynamic fight scene are, we can plan it out. We like to start out by listing every reversal of fortune with bullet points. That way we can rearrange the points without any of them being too permanent. Or if you happen to be more visual, you can use a graph that shows the reversals of fortunes that we actually did make for that Star Wars short film that we were going to make that never saw the light of day. So each character has a color-coded path. When it goes up, they have the upper hand. You can see where these fluctuate, and we basically wrote down the different points in the fight that these different arcs happen. So after you create the beats or the reversals of fortune, you can either go ahead straight into the choreography, or you could go into more in-depth script just to kind of nail down the finer details. Once you have the writing and or reversal of fortune points down, it's time to head into the choreography phase.
Quick disclaimer, do not try to replicate any of Jackie Chan's stunts within your fight scene or you could die. With that out of the way, let's move on. So odds are that you aren't gonna have months and months to practice this duel, so you're gonna have to make do with what you have. If that means that you only have one day to choreograph and shoot this thing, then so be it. Obviously, the more you're able to rehearse it, then the better it's going to be, and the smoother it is to capture this. So here's the dirty secret to choreographing fight scenes. You don't have to be able to go through the whole thing at once. I know, it's a mind bender. So you have to break it up into smaller segments called sequences. This makes it easier to both choreograph and film. A sequence is usually made up from about 5 to 10 small movements, such as like blocks or punches or ducks. And most of the time, if you're able to connect those sequences with the reversals in fortune, then it makes it even easier to memorize. For our quick fight scene, we just had 3 sequences and they changed weapons every time, so it was very easy to kind of memorize those different ones because they were completely different from each other, and during each sequence, different opponents had the advantage. So after you're pretty familiar with the sequence and you feel comfortable enough to go through it at a decent pace, get someone to whip out their phone so that they can take video and you have something to reference as you're going back so you don't completely forget everything that you've choreographed. We have made this mistake before. It is not good. We spent like an entire day choreographing this amazing sequence and then we didn't do anything for like 2 weeks. What do we do? You do not have to go through this.
In a fight scene, the camera is just as much a character as anyone else. Because of that, the way you position and move the camera can have a pretty big impact on the final result and could even maybe make or break your fight scene.
Hey, what's up? I was trying to call him you.
So if you want the best possible looking shots, you can either plan out how the shots look beforehand or have whoever is taking the video decide which is the best angle for each particular move. For example, if you're having someone punching someone else, which don't actually do that because bad, then you have to make it look good in camera. So because of this, the angle that you actually put the camera is going to have a large effect on how good the punch would look. Because if you shoot it from the side, you can obviously tell they're not actually hitting your face.
Whether I'm here or if I actually hit them, it all looks the same. Well, that doesn't work. We see a mile in between.
You want to spin the way that the punch is sending you and not like, I don't know, that, because that looks bad. If you shoot it from either the back or the front, it can just really increase the believability of that particular punch, and boom, you have a great looking shot.
Another important component when you're shooting a fight scene is character reaction. A character reaction can tell you a lot about the character. For example, if you look at Indiana Jones when he's about to fight the big sword-wielding Arab and he's afraid, that tells you a lot about his character. Instead, he does this. Reaction shots give your audience a second to breathe, figure out what's happening, and also make your fight scene seem longer as a result.
When you're filming it, don't do all of the moves at once. Just go through about 4 or 5 at a time until you get a speed that you're comfortable with, and then you can move on to the next set of moves. And then keep doing that until you're done with the fight.
That is how to make a killer fight scene in however many minutes this video is. So if you do happen to make a fight scene after following this video, then leave a comment with the video link to it and we will watch it. So if you like this video and want to check out some more of our stuff, there's another video up here, so you can check that out and we will see you there.